Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Julius, President of Arlington Branch NAACP, and we want to welcome you to our May 2022 general membership meeting. I think we're right on time. With that being said, as we've always done, we're going to go ahead and open up with a word of prayer. I see we have our chair here tonight of our Religious Affairs Committee, the Reverend Dr. Delisha Davis. We had your assistant on standby, but Pastor Davis, if you can go ahead and open us up with a word of prayer, we really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Mr. President. Let us all pray. For all that we have experienced and for this very day for which we live, we give thanks. We ask for wisdom and divine direction in all that we say and all that we do, that our lives may help others and ultimately bring glory and honor to you. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Secretary, Madam Secretary, would you go ahead and begin with the roll call of officers?
Sure. We have the branch president, Julius, who's present.
Yes.
First Vice President Kent Carter.
Present.
Second Vice President Sharice Kearns.
Here.
Third Vice President Michael Heminger.
Present.
Treasurer Roy Austin.
Present.
Assistant Treasurer Adriana Spain.
Present.
Secretary Wanda Younger present. Assistant Secretary Laurel Langhorne.
Present.
Executive Committee at Large, Karen Nightingale. Executive Committee at Large, James Younger.
Present.
Executive Committee at Large, Simone Walker.
Present.
At Large Member Carolyn Kane.
No, she's not here, I don't think.
And Criminal Justice, Heather Kelly.
Present.
Economic Development and Labor, Megan Brew.
Here. Present.
Economic Development and Labor, Maya Jones. Environmental and Climate Justice, Gabrielle Cantor.
Present.
Environmental and Climate Justice, Kenyatta Clemens.
I think she's trying to sign on.
Okay. Legal Redress, Brendan Meehan. Membership, Keisha Tinsley.
She's not with us.
Political Action, Jamie Abrams.
Here.
Political Action, Megan Razor.
Present.
And Religious Affairs, Pastor Davis is present. Religious Affairs, Rosa Dunkley.
Present.
Scholarship, Adora Williams. Scholarship, Jill DeWitt. And our communications, Leah Materol, will not be with us today as well, and that concludes the roll call.
Thank you, Madam President and Madam Secretary. We're going to go ahead with our suspension of rules. I'm going to launch this. You can vote yay, nay, or abstain. So that's being launched. What this does every month, there's a typical rule of order in the NAACP, and if you are not in that exact sequence, then you have to suspend the rules so you can accept your agenda. That's what this does. The agenda was sent in advance. You can either say yay, nay, or abstain. We're going to go about 20 more seconds and then show you the results. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Show the results. Madam Secretary, are you capturing that?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for participating. We're gonna go right into our financial report, Mr. Treasurer. Now keep in mind, we have not had our executive committee meeting for this month yet, so we will not be voting on this financial report, but he will show the numbers. Our meeting is not until next week. Simone Walker, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I was just wondering if we could just have a moment of silence for the victims of the Buffalo shooting.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We can do that. I also think that our the host muted me. Was that you, Wanda? Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. I know our guest tonight was also going to mentioning that, but go ahead. Let's observe a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you, everyone. Mr. Treasurer, are you ready to present your report preliminary?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
For the month of April 2022, the financial report is as follows. The beginning balance in our business savings account was $361,841.39. There were no additions or subtractions from that account. Our checking account, the beginning of balance was $23,443.96. Expenditures, $2,897.64. Revenue, $2,897.64, and expenditures, $738.60, and the ending balance, $25,603. As of April the 30th, our total account balance was $387,444.39.
okay, thank you, Mr. Treasurer. You can stop sharing screen, Madam Secretary. Okay. This brings me to a few remarks that I'm going to bring to everyone. We have a great event lined up for everyone tonight, but I'm just going to use this moment, these few moments that I have to talk about a few upcoming events. Many of you had the opportunity to sign up for our 4-part series along with Trinity, a group called, I can't place the middle name, Trinity, and I know Black Parents of Arlington, 4-part series on structural racism. We had a large number of individuals sign up for that. And last week, we had the first seminar. It was well attended, and this week will be week 2. So it's a very good program. We have a lot of participants, and hats off to our Education Committee and everyone who's been working diligently along with our communications chair behind the scenes to make that a really seamless and very eventful event and informative, I would say. For those of you that have not signed up, it's, or if you signed up and you didn't attend last week, there was some information sent out. You still maybe have a little bit of time to watch the video if you didn't attend last week and be able to attend this week's. We also have, keep in mind, coming up Memorial Day this month, which is a time for, those that served our country and died serving our country. So let's remember that day. I know folks tend to have cookouts and do all of that other stuff, but take some time out and reflect and see what you can do on that day to just think about those that have served our country and have died. Also on June 4th from 5 to 6 p.m. over at Courthouse, Moms Demand Action is going to have an event, Wear Orange, surrounding end gun violence. And, we just had a moment of silence about regarding what happened this past weekend, and there's some other things that have gone on in our country. So watch your emails, stay engaged. There's a lot of events going on in our community this month and next. As far as the branch, we're coming up on the 6-month mark of this year. That means we have about 6 months to go, and our branch, of course, is heavily engaged in a number of areas. We know what happened with the General Assembly and what happened with some of our bills that we worked hard on and what the governor did. But I've told a lot of the leaders here in our branch, let's see what we can do to focus on the local level. All politics are local, right? So we've been working really hard to help shape and some policies and initiatives here at the local level to the best extent possible. As it relates to, and I'll just give you the update as far as our criminal justice and the issue with the deaths in the jail. We're still mindful, right, of all things that have happened. We've submitted our letter. I have been in communication with individuals in our community, and that's been about the extent of it. We have not heard back from the DOJ about those cases, but that's ongoing. All right. Housing is also a big issue right now with the Middle Milton housing study coming out, and our housing committee is going to have a little bit extra time tonight to talk specifically about that and what's going on and how you can be engaged. And also we have an additional member from our branch who has volunteered to serve as vice chair for the next 6 months. He kind of stepped up, so I'll let the housing committee talk about that when it comes to their time. But with that being said, what I want to prepare you for tonight is a presentation from my friend, our friend, Maryam, Ovissi, who is a certified trauma-informed yoga therapist. Many of you probably read her bio and her work. I've made acquaintance with Maryam months ago, actually through my job, and I watched her and what she did and how she interacts, and got to learn a little bit about different techniques as it relates to mind, body, soul, work-life balance. And you see my screen tonight. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and there's some alarming statistics out there that you should be aware of, and that's the fact that about 1 in 4 people in our nation are affected or know someone who's been affected by mental health. I take this area of work very seriously because not only as a parent, but as a combat veteran, I've seen what happens with mental health. I've been engaged in that arena in many ways as a parent and as an individual. So yeah, years ago, there used to be a stigma associated with it, but make no mistake about it, people are suffering. And what happened this past weekend didn't do any of us any justice who go through what life day in and day out. So it's real. Our kids are suffering from it, have issues. Our working families have issues, and just adults, everyone have some form of issue as it relates to mental health, emotional well-being. So now there's many alternatives out there, right? And what I thought was appropriate tonight as the leader of this branch is Mental Health Awareness Month, is to bring in someone to speak with us about the moment we're in, and also some therapeutic type, perhaps exercises. We did the exercise at work where we're all doing yoga at our seats. I felt so refreshed after that, but it's all about lifting up others. She's a minority woman, minority-owned businesswoman, and she does great work in the Northern Virginia area. So with that being said, Maryam, you're here. We're going to spotlight you here.
Yes, I am.
Here we are. Make sure
Here we go.
Right. And and make sure we get you here. All right. So Maryam, the floor is yours. I want to make sure I get you on spotlight.
Thank you. You can all hear me well? Yeah? Okay. Thank you, JD, for inviting me to be part of this meeting with all of you. And there's an invitation to prioritize self-care and collective care. And I really appreciate that invitation being made, where I can share with you tools and also acknowledge the role of collective trauma on our individual roles. So I wanted to just open up by reading something. And this is from, I don't know if anybody knows the work of Michelle Johnson.
This is Finding Refuge, and it's the heart work of healing collective grief. And I just want to read just a few sentences, but I want to acknowledge that many of us step into service or volunteer with organizations such as NAACP because there is a heartache. And I want to just read a few sentences, and then I want to go into exploring practices that help us accept and heal and acknowledge, and why that's so important for each one of us that shows up to volunteer, to support, to uplift, to accelerate justice. Let me just start with this statement by Michelle, Dr. Johnson. She writes, social movements begin when people say, no more of this. We are tired and fed up, and we must take action. Collectives form to interrupt, disrupt, intervene, grieve, and build new ways of being that are counter to the toxicity of dominant culture. Social movements and collectives die because we replicate systems of oppression when we don't engage in spiritual practice, radical and collective care, or grieve the tragedies our movements respond to. Collectives die when we don't prioritize healing, integrity, and wholeness as much as we prioritize the work. So I just want you to take a nice breath in. And so today, this heartache that comes about from maybe the individual experiences we've had, and it can also come about from observing. There was a whole field that emerged out of 9/11 called secondary trauma response. And so it became very evident that it wasn't only the person that is in the conflict or that is being, the violence is coming towards, but it's also when you observe others. The observation of others is equally as impactful on our mental and our physical well-being. I want to bring up the heart today and share some practices to tend to the heart, because we know now, and we're learning more, for example, children that have had a lot of adverse effects, abuse, grow up and have 50% more likelihood to have cardiovascular disease. We know now about how stress and trauma affect our well-being, and my other specialty is in the cancer care, and the number of cancers we've seen, also breast cancer in this region around the heart. There is an absolute tending that I feel culturally we aren't inspired to, or we might not know how to, so we get really heady about self-care. Like we make a list. Self-care is this and this and this. And so today I want to invite more a holistic experience of our own self-care. And I will give a little bit of moment of acknowledging the grief of this recent horrific event that occurred in Buffalo. That is an absolute hate crime. And that I cannot imagine that nobody had that experience of like the heaviness and that sense of fatigue that can be part of this, and just the, not this again. So I want to just give a moment, and this practice that I'm sharing is like, what do we do in those moments when there's overwhelm? How do we kind of give time for that and also come back into service, which is so beautiful that you all collectively have each other to have these conversations and to also be active. We know how important it is to participate and be active in the face of these types of tragedies. So I want to before I go in, I think let's start with a little bit. Is there any comments, anything anybody wants to share? Is there anything that's resonating, or just, I want to just offer that. I will offer a little Q&A after the practice too, but want to just at least offer that space if anyone feels a need to say or share.
Yes. You made mention of Buffalo, right? And I'm sure you're going to talk more about that, the incident itself. But I spoke to a number of folks, and this moment, what happened in Buffalo, to your point, struck so many people in so many ways, right? Like, it's like not again, right? And for those individuals with families and young ones, right? Just anyone in general, it's like, what went through my mind is like, I put it on Facebook, like, I don't even feel safe in America anymore, right? And I know as a Black man, in this nation, sometimes just being Black is tough. But it's been on my mind, and I'm sure the minds of others. How do you cope with something like this, right? I mean, the tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. Some people get spiritual counsel, others seek professional counseling, but I think people may not raise their hand here, but I just know it's affecting so many folks. I mean, and especially in the Black community. I mean, this individual targeted Blacks, drove 200 miles with intention, and killed Black people. And there was a few others that got injured. So that's painful.
It is. It's tragic. And it's interesting. It's not interesting, it's very sad, but the sense of safety, when that is that is very evident. There's a lack of safety, and that's a whole other conversation. And one of the ideas around being trauma informed, creating trauma informed spaces, creating spaces for conversation. Trauma informed speaks to safety. And so the most important first step is to find one person that you are safe with and have the conversation of the heartache, of the devastation, of the anger, because it can just get stuck. And then we can do coping things, like maybe reach for substances that aren't so good for us because of the overwhelm. And safety is a huge thing. And so when there is not safety, what is the greatest act? Is to find safety, because you're just facing this. Such a huge, thank you for speaking to that. Would anyone else like to just go ahead, please?
There's a comment in the chat from Laurel. Laurel, you can come off if you want to and just speak, but it's very interesting. Go ahead, Laurel, I'm sorry.
I was just saying that it's interesting to hear how the traumas of the heart can be related to heart diseases and breast cancer, which is, a very prevalent thing in the Black community. So it makes sense, given traumas in our community, that we would have high rates in those areas.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this we're not emotionally mature enough as a society to speak about how disease is related to our emotional experience in the collective communities, and the lack of safety that is experienced. And this theory, I will just say, the theory that trauma is related to cancer came out many, many years ago, over a decade ago, by Dr. Virchow at Harvard, and it was denied. And I don't want to make that an absolute statement, but I feel there's enough evidence, just NIH won't. It's a hard thing to study. But thank you for kind of noticing it. anything else around safety right now? Or I think even what JD brought up, does anyone want to share just a couple ideas of what you're doing, maybe that can be inspiring for others to hear? Or if you feel you would like to have someone to speak with, maybe share it now. Or feel free to put it in the chat. Really, it's important as a community. Okay, so let us get into our bodies a little bit. And one of the things that have come up in studies is when there has been whether we're observing it or we're experiencing it, a traumatic experience, the first thing the body does is the core of the body freezes. And so one of the most important movements to do is lateral. So whatever you're doing, if you're sitting, if you want to stand up, I actually encourage you, just because you're going to be in a meeting, is maybe just laterally move. And you can do it in your chair. Just get the side body to move. So if you think about when we get immobilized or we get a little bit scared, what do? We protect our core. And so take a moment and laterally bend. And just take a few breaths here. And I'm going to teach things seated because I see everyone is seated. But if you're standing, please remain standing. And then we're going to take our hands and rub them together, create a little heat like we're all coming around a fire, help warm. And then we're going to slowly just take the hands, maybe one over the other, over the heart. And I'm going to encourage you to inhale. I'm going to just turn to the side so you can see. To open the arms. Inhale, open the arms wide, and then exhale and round. Move inwards. And just on your own pace, you don't have to be with me, but there's a sense of opening and exhale. Just a little movement. I don't know what you've been doing all day, but I'd like to just kind of undo the day. Little extension and flexion of the spine. Exhale. And this is the last one. We're going to inhale and open. And then turn a little bit I'm going to mirror you to the left side and maybe touch your heart with the right hand as you maybe look to your left. And then come back center and touch the heart with the left hand as you turn towards the right and look to the right. And just continue to do that a few times. And thank you for standing up, those of you that are standing up. And you can it's a little movement. The spine needs you to move, to be hydrated and to be nourished. And just do 2 more. Slowly opening. Good, 1 more time. Awesome. And then come back and let's roll the shoulders. Good. So another really important and powerful tool is self-massage. And this is just getting in touch with the body. And what I'd like you to do is just take your left hand and just go to your right shoulder. And just massage the right shoulder. You're just noticing, and maybe go up to the neck and maybe feel a little bit of the upper back, really normal. Maybe, I know I hold my attention there. Just notice what's there and give it a little bit of nourishment and love. And then come down the arm and just think of squeezing all sides of the arm. You have so many receptors. And this helps us just kind of get back embodied in the body. And then go to the other hand. And this time you're going to move upwards from the hand up to the arm and go to the opposite shoulder. And just gently massage the shoulder, the back, the neck. Nice. And then we're going to bring the hands, both of the hands, to the base of the skull and massage the neck gently. And if you're comfortable, you're welcome to take your hands over your scalp and run it back, like run your hands through your hair if you're comfortable, or you can also just massage the scalp or the neck. I'm just going to let you kind of just connect to your skull as you'd like. I'm so sorry, I'm going to just turn off the sound of my phone. Hearing it go off. Apologies. And then we're going to just lower the hands down. And just kind of take a moment and just be aware right now, just of your body. Maybe close the eyes or look down and just notice. A really helpful breath practice is pursed-lipped exhale. And you have a lot of nerves around the lips. So when we purse-lip exhale, it's a very good disruptor to anxiety and stress. And when we exhale through the mouth, what's wonderful about that as well is that you will activate the core a little bit more. So I want you to feel that as you inhale through the nose, pursed-lipped exhale, you can hug the core body. So it's an inhale through the nose. Do this 5 times. Exhale through the mouth, pursed lip. And just go to the end of that breath and do that 3 more on your own. And maybe notice to press that air out, how your core has to engage. And this will help you bring some energy to the core of your body. 1 more time. Nice. And then again, roll the shoulders, little lateral bend, and just step into a space of awareness of yourself in this moment. And then I invite you to take whichever hand you want, maybe over the center of the chest, wherever you feel the sense of your own heart. And feel free to be seated. Feel free to kind of sit back in your chairs, however you want to be comfortable. I really want you to have comfort here, so please adjust as you'd like. And the eyes can be turned down. They can also be closed if you're comfortable. And as you exhale, just arrive into this awareness of your heart. And just consider your heartbeat. That it beats without you thinking about it, and it's been beating since day 10. And just that circulation and how the breath, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide is carried all throughout your body. It's a beautiful heart that beats. And also acknowledge the heart as a gland. It has neurotransmitters. It changes the biochemistry of your body. And it's a feeling organ. And the emotions that are experienced here are real, and they change our landscape of our body. And then also acknowledge the heart as a brain. It's now recognized as a neural system. The brain is one, the heart is the other, the gut is the other. We have 3 brains now that we really are clear about that we have in our body. And just acknowledge it as it's a brain, and it communicates infinitely. The stats are 10,000 times more to your brain than your brain communicates to your heart. It's a real guide. And then I'd like to just invite a moment of reflection of the recent tragedy, and just acknowledging any emotion around that, any grief, sadness, anger. Maybe it doesn't have a specific name, the emotion, but just this, going to take about 1.5 minutes. It's going to leave us in this little space of silence. And just feel, maybe acknowledge the grief. And I invite us to take a moment, and this is, there's a effect that we have studied, and it's been proven really beautifully that when we collectively gather and we bring our energy together with intention, it can transform no matter where in the world. It can bring coherence. And so I just invite you to, because this is a organizational meeting for NAACP, maybe just that affirming the mission of this organization and that commitment to it, that it is from the heart. Although grief is here, we can have a sense of power in action. And what can I do right now, right? What is that smallest action we can do? Now bring the other hand over the heart, and I'm going to invite you to tap a little bit. And I love this tapping. There's a beautiful gland called the thymus gland right over the heart. That is our immune system. And imagine it's like you're knocking at the door of your heart so it doesn't harden. You can tend to it. And then let the hand soften and bring the fingers interlaced with each other for a moment. Just place it over the heart. And then press the palms away for a moment and round. And then we're going to bring this back to the heart, maybe with a gentle inhale. And then exhale, round again. Maybe you've been typing all day. This is a nice counter. And I'm going to kind of end with this little teaching of, this is a mudra. Mudras are gestures that we do with the hands. And this is a mudra that is about trust and working together. And so maybe take this mudra and just place it over your heart. And feel your breath beneath your hands. Feel the heart. And just have an absolute sense of presence right now with yourself, your mind, your body, your soul. And then a sense of presence with each other, the collective. And a nice inhale. And as we exhale, maybe open the arms out, stretch up. And we often end with a jai, J-A-I, jai. I know many of you are off camera, but I say hello to each of you. Yes, to each other. It's so good to see each other. Yes. And thank you for welcoming me and being receptive and open to the practices. I'd love to just offer space if there's any questions. I'll put in the chat my kind of contact information. Feel free to reach out. And it's it's moments like these that these groups are really huge and important, not just for the social action, but for mental well-being. So lean on each other, reach out to each other, and I'm here in service.
So thank you, Maryam, for that. Let's give Maryam a
Thank you.
virtual hand clap, everyone. You know,
Thank you.
so yeah, there's so many different techniques and ways that people can find a way to kind of heal themselves, both physically, right, and then of course mentally and emotionally. And again, as leaders here, each of us on the leadership team at Arlington Branch and NAACP recognize, you know, that what we do is strictly voluntarily, right? None of us are getting paid for this, but it's a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment on part of our volunteers. And so their sacrifices don't go unnoticed. And for you to take time out of your schedule to spend just a few moments with us here on this Monday during Mental Health Awareness Month, we really appreciate it. Are there any questions for Maryam? If so, please come off mute and just feel free to ask your question. She has a minute, a few minutes, and then we'll move on. Any questions?
Yeah, or comments.
Or comments?
Yeah. Did that land? Appreciate the comments. Thank you. That landed. That if any, you're all inspired, maybe take a little good care of yourselves. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Latanya. I have a question. I would like to get more information on the study regarding the breast cancer and stress and whatnot. Where can we find that information? Thank you.
So thank you. So what I'll do is I will share it with JD, and then could you forward it?
We'll get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can find it now, and then I'll just share the study in the chat if I can
Yeah,
during
sure.
the meeting. Otherwise, I'll do that.
You may do that.
Yeah.
Are there any
Thank
other
you.
questions? I think everyone's had a great time off camera, so people are probably just doing their thing. Some folks probably don't feel comfortable,
It's all good.
Totally get it. So thank you again on behalf of the NAACP Arlington branch and our members. If you want to stick around, please feel free to. If not, we're going to go ahead and get with our agenda. Take care, Maryam.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.
Beautiful evening.
Okay, great. So that was different, everyone, in a good way, a really good way. With that being said, next on our agenda, and it looks like we're gonna I just got notifications. We may have a modification to the schedule, and I want to get in front of this, and I really don't want to I don't like putting people on the spot, but our education committee, I just found out that our housing committee chair is unable to attend tonight and give his presentation. We have 15 minutes carved out between 8:15 and 8:30. Education committee, if you want to use that block, let me know. If not, we'll just, because you probably want to prepare for it, but if not, we'll end up ending early tonight. We'll do political action, environmental climate justice, economic and labor development, unless the education committee has any updates or information they want to pass. Again, they did not know they were briefing tonight because we've been doing every other month, but our housing committee chair cannot be with us. So
Yeah.
Sharita, if you want to do that, let me know, just inbox me. Otherwise, we're going to go right to our small business spotlight, which we're way ahead of schedule, with our chair of economic and labor committee, Megan.
Hey, y'all. Thanks so much, President Spain. So we are excited this month to feature Puppy Love, which is a pet service company right here in Arlington. So everything from in-house dog walking, grooming, obedience training, and pet sitting. You can see they spotlight a pet of the month. So this was January 2022. You can see Maxine and all of her loves here. A little bit about the founder. Lindsay established Puppy Love given her love of dogs. She started just with one client and then expanded to this full business. So definitely check them out. I'm going to drop their website URL in the chat real quick. Again, great service right here in Arlington. You might have seen them featured on ARL Now as well, that newsletter and social too. And we're hoping we can have them join us in the coming months to do a special feature where perhaps they can even bring some of their pups along for that feature. So really grateful for the opportunity to get to know Lindsay. And if you have pets in your life, recommend you reach out to Puppy Love. JD, if you don't mind, I can just do a brief overview for economic development while I have the mic here.
Is that how we roll now?
Once I have the mic, JD, you can't stop me. You're gonna have to kick me out of the meeting.
So let's do this. Let's have you go Economic Labor Committee, and then what we'll do, I'll have Gabrielle come on and do her piece because she's brief, sometimes brief as well, and then we'll finish up with Education Committee. How about
Perfect.
that?
That sounds great.
All right, so you go ahead. We're going to be, yeah,
great.
Go ahead, Megan.
We are agile here, folks. Love it. So wanted to share a few things that the committee is working on. The first is we continue our outreach to small business owners of color. Right now, we are connecting with 38 businesses in the community. So huge thank you to the folks on the Economic Development and Labor Committee for doing that outreach. And a special thank you for our partners at the Columbia Pike Partnership, who are leveraging their connections as well to promote some of the programming and opportunities that we have. What I will say though is while we're currently reaching out to about 30 organizations, we have a list of nearly 70 organizations to reach out to. So there's a ton of opportunity for connection, a ton of opportunity to support, and we are looking for new committee members to support us in building these relationships with small business owners of color. So we'd love to have more engagement from our membership and actively recruiting folks to join. The second thing that I will call out is we are partnering with organizations across Arlington to build up a repository of resources for businesses, both at the state and the local level. What we've heard from business owners is having a list of these resources for them can be pretty overwhelming. So we're more so going to use it as an internal tool for us as we continue to connect with business owners in order to offer them the services of best interest to them. So for example, if a business owner were to say to us, hey, we understand how important having a web presence is, but need help building a website, we could connect them with the Biz Launch Relaunch program, which helps with just that, building websites at no cost to the business owner and in partnership with AWS. So really building out that resource toolkit for us in order to best support our business partners in the community. So what I will do is I am dropping my email address in the chat. Again, if you're interested in joining the committee, would love to have you. Again, we have plenty of businesses that we're looking to connect with in the community. In addition to that, looking to combine all of the resources across Arlington so that we can direct our business partners accordingly. So if you have a resource that would benefit small business owners of color, or if you would like to join the committee, please reach out.
Great.
That's what I got.
All
Thanks,
right.
JD.
You're welcome. No problem, Madam Chair. Thank you. Let's go to our Political Action Committee, and Megan Razor, our Vice Chair, is going to be briefing out tonight, I believe. Megan?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, I wanted to start out the Political Action Committee update with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, "The vote is the most powerful instrument ever devised by human beings for breaking down injustice and destroying the terrible walls which imprison people because they are different from others. So one of the big missions of the Political Action Committee is not only voter education and voter engagement and voter registration. And so as part of that mission, last Thursday evening, we partnered with the Alexandria and Fairfax branches of the NAACP to host a candidate forum for Congressional District 8. And that covers all of Arlington, all of Alexandria, and part of Fairfax County. I do want to make sure to say that the NAACP is nonpartisan. So we invited all candidates that are running to participate in the forum. We did have 4 candidates total, both of the Democratic candidates and 2 of the Republicans. The other 3 candidates declined our offer, but I thought our moderator, Chris Lewis of the Alexandria branch, did a great job, and it was a really informative presentation. We had over 100 people who attended, as well as those who were checking it out, streaming live on Facebook. I'm going to put in the chat a link if you'd like to go back and look at the recording. You can also find that link on our Facebook page. And I'll also drop in the chat some links for voter registration. So make sure you are registered, make sure you know where your polling place is, as well as links on the Democratic primary, which takes place on June 21st, and the Republican caucus, which takes place on May 21st. We will not be holding a candidate forum for the county level this spring, but we will plan to hold a forum in the fall for county board and school board ahead of the general elections in November. So of course, we hope all of you will register and vote, but we could also really use your help in our voter registration and engagement outreach efforts. That often includes voter registration booths, canvassing, and postcard writing campaigns. So we'll be sending out some sign up information soon, so be on the lookout for that, and please come volunteer with us. We will have members of the Political Action Committee at every event, so you do not have to be a voting expert. It is more important that we have a passionate group of volunteers to just help spread the word that our voice and our power in influencing government lies first in our vote. In her book, Our Time Is Now, that was recently released, Stacey Abrams said, "Only if people vote will their voices be heard and their lives changed." So please make sure you are registered, get out there and vote in the primaries and the general election, and help out with our voter registration efforts. And last but not least, I would just like to give a huge shout out to our spring intern, Sam Scales. Sam is graduating from law school at the University of Baltimore tomorrow. So we wish him a big congratulations. Thank him so much for all of his hard work in supporting us over the last few months, and wish him all the best in the future. And that is all I've got, sir. So I will turn it back over to our president.
Thank you, Megan. Really appreciate that update. And yeah, kudos to Sam. One thing I wanted to add on, if you did not get a chance to attend, our Political Action Committee and a lot of some of our members showed up last week at the John Robinson Park dedication ceremony. Even though it was some inclement weather, we had a table set up there at the entrance. It was well attended, and also dropped in the link, in the chat, a link to the Jenny Dean Park event that will be on May 21st this weekend. So Megan, are we going to have our political action team there, or not at this event? I don't think so. Or what's going on there?
So we have asked to have a booth there, but we have not got confirmation yet.
Yeah, okay, great. 2 great events and really good participation last week. Thank you for all of that. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and have our environmental climate justice brief. Then we're going to go to have our education committee. Once we're done with our education committee, since we do have some time, if the third, second, or first VP have any updates or anything they want to say, I'll forward them opportunity. And it looks like we're going to have a really short meeting tonight, that's okay as well. So Gabrielle with our environmental and climate justice, and then we'll go to education committee. Gabrielle?
Hey there.
Yeah, where you at? Oh, here we go. All right. Hey.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Great to see you all here tonight. We had our most recent Environment and Climate Justice Committee meeting the first weekend of the month, which turned out to be May 1st, I believe. And we discussed a bunch of different things that were specifically happening this month. And so I'm going to cover a few of those in case people are interested. Some of the events that have already happened with our partners include, there was a plenary meeting concerning action around tree equity and trees that happened, I believe through the Civic Federation. We also have Eco Action Arlington is doing a bunch of different things involving the tree canopy fund that they have. They're doing specific outreach opportunities to try and include neighborhoods that may not normally be seeing the outreach as it goes for planting the free trees in their neighborhoods. One of the events that I think some people might be interested in is on May 25th, they're doing specific outreach to apartment complexes where they will be trying to essentially help out apartment complexes where the management specifically could improve the tree canopy in those areas where there are a lot of rentals and potentially, depending on the apartment complex, low income individuals who are not necessarily getting the same benefits that some of our other county member residents are. So those are some exciting things that are happening. The county budget update, we sort of talked a little bit about that they established an office under the county manager focusing on sustainability, which is something that some of our partners were looking for. And so we're excited about that. We're looking to see what will actually happen from that. And so we'll be keeping an eye on those activities. And then I think the only other thing of note from our most recent meeting was that there is a Stormwater Utility Advisory Committee that I just actually recently became a part of that specifically affects low-income individuals in that they're going to slightly change how they fund the stormwater program. And we want to make sure that change does not shortchange some of our low-income individuals. And so if you're interested in some of those updates, you can reach out to me directly, or you're welcome to come to our next meeting, which will be the first Sunday of June. And it will be at 6:30. I think. If you reach out to me in the chat, or I'll put my email down there, we can talk, and we'd love to see you there. So thanks a lot.
All right, Gabrielle, you went pretty quick, and that's okay. You have your vice chair now. I know, did she ever come on?
I'm not sure. Kenyetta, are you here?
Okay.
Did you get on? I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. I'm about to thank you, Gabrielle, for your hard work and everything you've been doing the past year and a half with ECJ, and we just got to stay focused, whether it's tree canopy, stormwater, the whole non-filtration, air quality. It's just a lot going on. But thank you for everything, and we need to have a chat here soon. Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, great. I'm going to bring up the Education Committee, but I was just notified that our regional vice president, Cozy Bailey, is on the call. Cozy.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah. If you can stick around for a minute, I want to let the Education Committee speak. Didn't know you were on tonight, but let me formally introduce you after the Education Committee, and then give you a few minutes to talk. Okay? Is that okay?
No worries.
All right. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. All right, everyone. Our Education Committee is very flexible. They're here with us. So Cherie and Simone, our chair and co-chair.
Hi, everyone. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, I think we can. Yes.
Okay, great. So we've been busy. I'll start with go backwards and talk about our four-part seminar series on understanding structural racism. We had last week was our part one. It was a smashing success. We have had interest beyond what we could have ever imagined. I think we are 24 shy of 400 participants. And so it's been a challenge administratively to keep up with all the emails and all the last minute requests. I literally just registered 3 people just now while we were on this call. Probably because of your reminder, JD. So it's been incredible. The response has been phenomenal. And we're looking forward to tomorrow night for part 2. But again, yeah, it's we realize how heavy of a lift it was with registering folks for a 4-part series that is cumulative in knowledge, and you have to take the first one before you move on to the next one. So that's been part of the challenge with keeping up with who came, who's watching the video, and all of that. But we are pleased to bring that to you. Moving on to APS.
Simone, can we just put in a plug for our co-sponsors, Black Parents of Arlington and Trinity and Nova together. This has been a wonderful collaboration, and we are just pleased as punch that that we're all able to work together, and we are hoping to be able to do something like this again in the future.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharice, for that. Moving on to APS. Both Sharice and I spoke at the school board meeting last week. We continue to be very concerned about the performance of Black and Brown students in the district. The math and reading score.
You muted yourself.
The Black and Latina scores for reading and math are horrific. And so, you know, we keep sounding the alarm. We're particularly concerned about students not graduating reading on grade level from high school. The VDOE data shows that 39% of our high school students are reading below proficiency. We know that APS does graduate students who are semi-literate or functionally illiterate. And so we have been leaning hard on the district to infuse the high school students who are reading below grade level with intensive intervention. I don't believe they have allocated enough funds in the budget for that. There's $638,000 allocated for tutoring in general, 6 through 12 in whatever subjects they need, which is online tutoring. But in speaking with school board member Cadera, she indicated that in order to give intensive intervention to students in our high schools that are still reading below grade level, it would cost like $8.5 million or something to that effect. That was a rough estimate, I think, from the English Language Arts Advisory Committee. But we're still pushing hard. Basically, our school board members and superintendent have a moral duty to ensure that every student who is graduating high school is reading on grade level before they leave here, because that will impact their employability. It will impact future educational opportunities, how they're going to do in college. It impacts what kind of jobs they're going to be able to get. And so it does have generational impact. And we're leaning on them. And so we are not seeing these numbers go in the right direction.
Right. And Simone, if I can pop in, I think one of the more worrisome behaviors that we've seen from APS leadership behind this was they have spent this school year not talking about these demographic disparities.
Correct.
So what they've been doing is, instead of saying things like, for the fall math inventory assessment, which is an assessment that kids take in grades 2 through 8 to assess their math performance and where they are in math. 83% of the Black students who took that test scored below or significantly below grade level on that assessment. So we don't hear about that. So they put it in appendices of the relevant monitoring reports, and they tuck it away where, your average, parent isn't going to go and pull out a monitoring report and look at the appendices to see how Black and Latino children are doing. So instead of being very direct and upfront and transparent about what's happening with these students, Dr. Duran has been saying things like, we see improvement in the assessments, and that improvement might be 1 or 2 percentage points, and then maybe 10 percentage points among white students. So they've been not being fully transparent to families about how things are going, and what does this mean? Why is this important? This is important because what happens is they are working with individual children, right? So you've got a kid who's having trouble, you need to do an intervention, you need to do some remediation, you need to get them up to level. When you make it look like it's individual children, right? So you're working with individual children, but you're not showing that system-wide you've got these issues going on. It's not just the child. So parents are thinking, my individual child has a problem. I need to figure out how to fix this problem for my individual child. Most families are not going to know that it's not just your child. It's a significant number of children across the district. We're talking English learners, students with disabilities, Blacks and Latinos, which constitutes pretty much a numeric majority of the school system. So when things are like that, but you have APS leadership kind of couching and framing things to make the public think that things are going okay, we have a problem, and that's why we're pushing. That's why we continue to advocate for them to be fully transparent. We're really grateful that they put the data dashboard that shows student progress back onto the APS website. We're grateful for that, but we still have to continue to hold their feet to the fire, because what we're doing, and I'm on the English Language Arts Advisory Committee, we are working really hard to get reading tools in place at the high school level. But the problem with that,
not on the dashboard.
Yeah, that we don't see the high school data on the dashboard. And the other thing is that, we won't have this resource in place until the fall. So class of 2022, poor readers, zoop, they're out of there. Class of 2023, we'll see what happens. Because remember, it's year one, the teachers are learning how to use the tools. They're learning this whole new process. So if parents are not concerned, they should be. This to me constitutes a 4-alarm fire when you're letting kids out of the door who are not going to be able to provide for themselves because they don't have the capacity that they need to read and do math.
It's educational malpractice.
And I know that, a lot of people you can't see it because no one's talking about it. So we go in, we do the deep dives, we kick around the data, and we go and we talk to APS leadership and we ask them questions about this stuff, and we'll continue to do that. But we want to start to talk about this, because once we mentioned it in the school board meeting during our comments, of course, then, we get these conciliatory remarks from school board members saying, oh yeah, there's still more that we need to do. And, they come out to the Langston celebration of the 28 kids who were rejected from the initial desegregation. And they talk in these glowing terms, and then at the very end, but we still have more to do. And they don't tell this room full of Black people that the more to do is the large number of Black students that they're not serving. So, there's got to be some adjustments and some aligning there. We need to match up behavior with rhetoric. We need to make APS stand by their claims of being equity focused and growth minded, because that's not what their data is showing right now. So that's our big thing. And then on the wonderful side, and I'll pitch this back to Simone, is that we still have our little academy that's going strong. At Drew, we have a small cohort of children that we are giving additional tutoring through the Dyslexic Edge Academy, and I'll let Simone give you an update on that.
Essentially, it's going well. We have 9 students. The chief of staff visited one afternoon with the students and was very impressed with the STEM activity and the tutoring that's going on. And by tutoring, we mean reading intervention that is structured literacy. And so they have asked for us to continue that program in that school for next year. And so we're trying to build up to a 20 student cohort for the next school year. So that's going really well. And that's all I have.
Okay, great. It's a lot. I mean, I really, for those of you on the call, I think Cherie hit the nail on the head that elected officials, more especially those on the school board and those in staff, don't really give you the full story. What you hear, what you may see in the paper, it's not the full story, y'all. And the only way you're going to figure it out is if you're willing to do, to Cherie and Simone's point, or do deep dives, pull up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, because once you pull that back, there will be some revealing information. And there's sharp disparities. We've all known we've had disparities, but the fact now remains, knowing what we know, when are your elected leaders going to do something about it, right? And our elected leaders. And that's always the question at the end of the day, because whether it's the NAACP or in our community, folks come around and they talk to us and they say they're going to do this and empty rhetoric, and they're not going to do anything. So why are we graduating folks who are not reading at a 12th grade level and putting them out into society? Why is that happening? Well, it starts all the way back to elementary school. We've been pushing them through the pipeline. And so if you want to help, you got to be loud. You have to agitate folks. If a school board member or somebody who's running for school board comes to you, you need to be ready to ask these type of questions. What are you going to do to fix the problem? And if they can't answer that, then listen, I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. Just that's it. Maybe they don't need to be in office. Thank you, Cherie and Simone, for your presentation. Thank you. Let's go. Our regional vice president, Cozy Bailey, the Reverend Cozy Bailey. I didn't know you were coming tonight. You're trying to be sneaky here. You're trying to do a peekaboo up here in Arlington Branch, but that's okay. Reverend Cozy Bailey is also not only the regional VP, he's the president of Prince William County branch of the NAACP. So don't forget that I nominated you for this position. Many of you know I trained him. Nah, he's good. He was thoroughly trained in Dr. Day. But Cozy, thank you for being with us tonight. Any remarks for the region? Anything you want to bring to? We still have 51 members on the call. That's good. I'll leave the floor is yours. And we have a few elected members that showed up. I saw Parissa earlier, but I'll recognize them after this. But go ahead, Cozy, regional VP.
Thank you, JD. And yes, thank you for nominating me for this position. I think No, it's been a pleasure. Now I've notified you because I didn't want to, you to look at the recording and say, wait a minute, Cozy was on there. He didn't say anything. I'm not stalking. I really enjoy your meeting, and I get the invitation all the time, and now new position succeeding you in those big shoes that I have to fill behind you, and not just because you got big feet, but because of your previous accomplishments. Just one thing, and that I think that last presentation about education is, in my opinion, emblematic and symbolic of what I've always known about the Arlington branch. Two things: the passion that you have for that particular subject area, and it's throughout the entire branch. And I've known that for my long-term relationship with JD. But even more importantly, JD, when you said, you have to show them the problem, make them see the problem, and then get them to do something. The work that I hear, folks here doing and throughout the Commonwealth is the hard work of digging into the data and then understanding how to analyze that data, and then to present a logical, some systematic way of getting people to see irrefutable facts. Because if you don't do that, JD, as you just said, they will drown you in rhetoric. And that's not what the NAACP is all about. So kudos to you. And thank you all for allowing me to join you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Regional Vice President. And I know we have a executive committee meeting this week, statewide. Oh, Lord have mercy. That's going to be about 6 hours on Saturday. But I look forward to seeing you there, sir, and all the best. So for a second, let me recognize, I saw a few people pop up, and then I'm going to go to our VPs. They don't get a chance to speak that much, but I saw the Commonwealth Attorney on earlier, so thank you for being with us. I saw Senator Barbara Favola. Thank you for being with us. And I think that was it. I don't think I missed anyone.
I'm still here listening closely.
All right. Thank you for being with us, Senator Barbara Favola. Really appreciate that. I want to go to our third VP, and then I'm going to go third, second, first, and then we're going to wrap it up. We'll be done by 8:30 for sure. Third VP, Mike Hemminger, are you still on the line, sir?
Good evening, Mr. President. I am still on the line.
All right, there you go. The floor is yours.
Okay, I'm gonna take up a couple minutes if that's okay.
Let's try to end by 8:30 tonight. Can we? I know we're scheduled for 9. Can we end by 8:30 tonight, sir? I don't.
Yeah,
unless you want to give your MLK speech, and that's good too.
No, no MLK speech tonight. Just some of those irrefutable facts that our VP was just talking about. Our housing committee actually couldn't be here tonight, but I did want to just kind of bring everyone's attention to the missing middle study. You may have heard that phrase going around. You may have received a postcard at your residence recently. And you might be asking yourself, what is this missing middle study? And so hopefully I can spend a little bit of time talking about that. I'm going to drop some files in the chat real briefly, and then feel free to reach out to me afterwards if you have questions. The first one that I just dropped in there is really affordability, rental affordability in Arlington County. So take a quick moment to look at that. You may be surprised, you may not be surprised, but essentially what I want to call your attention to is there's only currently 3 areas in Arlington, 3 small areas where Black families can afford to live based on the area median income for Black families, okay? The next file that I'm going to drop into the chat, if my computer cooperates, is what missing middle actually is. A lot of people think it is middle incomes, which is that's like a byproduct or a tangent goal, but it's not the primary goal. So the first file that I dropped in there was what some of the housing types might look like once we, or if we adopt this new framework called missing middle. Actually, I put the same one in there twice. So I'll try to correct that. But you kind of have an idea of what we're talking about, right? In Arlington, we have a lot of multifamily housing, and we have single family housing as well. So get this, in our county, 25% of our residents enjoy about 75% of the land. I'll say that again. 25% of our residents enjoy about 75% of the land. Now flip that. 75% of our residents are squeezed onto about 25% of the land. So there is an urgent need to build more housing here in Arlington County and in the region more broadly. More specifically, there's about a shortage of about 100,000 housing units that need to be built over the next decade in order to meet minimum job growth across the region. So we have to really get moving, or we're going to be in a lot bigger of a crisis than we're in now. So the county is currently taking feedback and doing a community engagement through May 27th. So I want to invite everyone on this call. I'll drop a link on how you can participate into the chat, but the county really needs to hear from everyone. Zoning is a very hot topic. We are going to see both covert and overt racism really rear its ugly head during this study. And it's important that we hear from the entire community and not just certain individuals in the community. Some of the other things that I wanted to talk about were a lot of our disparities, systemic inequities are actually rooted in housing and education. And so if we can figure out a way to tackle housing and we can get more proximity to each other, when I say each other, I mean different races, different cultures, different lived experiences. If we can figure out a way for that to happen in the early developmental stages and ages, then socialization actually causes us to have greater empathy, understanding, and tolerance for people that don't look like us or people that have different lived experience. When we don't have that, tragically, we have events like what happened in Buffalo over the weekend. And so you can see this is an urgent crisis that we have to face. When we look at zoning in Arlington for the last 50 to 60 years, what we see, remember that 75-25 number that we talked about, not a lot has changed, surprisingly, in a county which is really touts itself on being ultra progressive. Not a lot has changed. And so, I'm of the opinion that it is time for us to have some type of change in Arlington. Something else that I wanted to mention was, actually, you know what? I'll yield my time back, but if I could leave anyone with any call to action, it would be please, please, please participate in this missing middle engagement session that's going on with the county. Again, we need to hear from all voices in the community. So thanks so much, Mr. President.
Well, just stay right there. Thank you, Mr. Third VP. And Mike, you keep hitting this drum. We've beaten this drum. It is, in the comments you saw earlier, like our branch started in 1940, was all around education. And even at that time, we had redlining and things going on that prohibited us to live in certain places, right? And we still see that today. So all of this is interconnected. It can't just be, it's not just education, right? It's also housing. And housing right now, they go hand in hand. And there's not a lot of folks out there, I believe. It can't just be the NAACP that are going to these meetings and really understand what this missing middle housing study is all about, but advocate on behalf of your neighborhood, advocate on behalf of Arlington. When I look at Arlington, right, we have this north-south divide, but it should be Arlington. We've separated ourselves intentionally, and we see, to Mike's point, you're going to see efforts that you've never seen before. Because there's certain folks in this community that don't want you building or rezoning in a certain part of Arlington, right? And we're saying, listen, let's change the zones. Let's do different types of units, basically buildings, more families, more diversity. But wait, this is the and we're not even talking about rebuild or plan Langston Boulevard yet, which that's another one, folks. And we better get hooked up and understand what's at stake, right? And it's not just Halls Hill, it's not just Green Valley or Johnson Hill, because we've seen what happened. We see what's happening in the valley. Watch it. Development's coming in, and it's I say like my dad used to say back in the day, you can't grow any more land. You got to protect your own. And there's pockets of Arlington where we were kept out of for decades, and we need them rezoned. We need to be able to build affordable housing units there and allow everyone to live there. All right, so Mike, our housing committee, y'all, is working hard on this. Um,
Can I say one more thing real quick? I just wanted to also call everyone's attention to how we do affordable housing, specifically committed affordable housing units in Arlington. You may or may not be aware that we actually don't have a housing authority here in Arlington. And so what ends up happening when we build these huge campuses that we're seeing pop up all over Arlington, developers are even given a choice to either dump a little bit of money, and I mean a very small amount of money, into what's called a committed affordable fund, or they can put those units on site. When they put them on site, what we end up seeing is less than 1% of those units actually end up being committed affordable units. Now, extrapolate that out across 5 and 10 years. What ends up happening is we start seeing people with higher and higher incomes moving in, and those people with lower incomes actually are forced out. So now think about your small businesses, think about your mom and pops, think about restaurants and retails, and where's that workforce going to come from if they can't afford to live here, right? Our police, our fire, our letter carriers, our teachers, they all deserve to live in this community, but they're being priced out. And so when we can't find the workforce to supply our local economy, no one's going to drive here from Springfield or Fredericksburg if we don't have the transportation infrastructure. There's going to be a severe worker shortage if we don't address the housing issue. So I can't stress it enough, but please participate. We really need your voice. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike. Kudos to you and the entire team over there. Well, since the Housing Committee chair is not here, I guess I'll go ahead and make this notification. And then we'll go to our second VP. Brian, are you on?
Hi, yes.
Where are you at, Brian? So just a quick welcome. Where you at, Brian?
Sorry, hold on 1 second. I'm here though.
Well, you're here. So anyway, Brian, everyone is coming on board. He spoke with Kellen, who's our chair, and Mike, and they're looking for volunteers. And Brian is going to be the vice chair of our housing committee now. So let's just welcome, Brian. He's been with the NAACP a little while. Mike, Brian, you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you. Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be serving as the vice chair of the housing committee. So I was doing a lot of research just most recently on so much of the information that's come out, both with the miscellaneous study, but also just in the different ways that housing intersects with education and the environment, and how important it is that we, as JD pointed out, take care of our own and to correct injustices that have been, years in the making. This isn't something that just crept up on us. And I think this is something that you hear with a lot of issues recently, like with education. You'll hear a lot of chatter from people, mostly white parents, who will say, oh, education has gotten so bad within the last couple of years. That's not so. It's just that you're now seeing it's now starting to affect you. But things like housing, things like poor environmental quality have affected the Black community and people of color for generations. And I think it's important that we make it clear to the neighborhood that we are standing up for people who haven't been heard all of this time, and that we take active steps to keep people accountable for the policies that they implement and for the stances that they take. So I'm really happy to get started working, and I look forward to working with all of you in the future.
Thank you, Brian. And with that being said, we're going to turn it over to our second VP, Sheree Kearns. Sheree?
Hi, yep, I'm here. I don't have that much to add. I just wanted to, first of all, I wanted to circle back in talking about our seminar series, and I wanted to thank our incredible team of volunteers who are doing yeoman's work to help with the administrative back end stuff that's going on that'll enable us to launch off this series. I just wanted to say thanks to everybody and let them know how much they're appreciated. And then there's one more thing I wanted to add, and this will be quick. And this is an update on the Acdc Endorsement Caucus for School Board. So there were initially 2 candidates that were seeking that endorsement. Bethany Sutton and Brandon, he's Clark these days, Brandon Clark. And Brandon decided maybe a week or 2 ago that he was going to drop out he decided that he believes that school board positions should be, the election should be nonpartisan. So he decided that he was not going to seek ACDC's endorsement, leaving just Bethany. So we have no reason to believe that Bethany isn't going to be the candidate that receives the ACDC endorsement, because not only, is she the only choice, but she was the first choice anyway. So that's kind of how that's shaking out. I don't know exactly how ACDC has adjusted the caucus to make it more fair, more equitable. I haven't seen any obvious outreach in minority communities yet. So I'm not quite sure what they're doing to make it, to change it at all. And maybe somebody, if there's someone here from ACDC who would want to speak to that, then they should explain to us, because we came out, for those of you who are, new here, we took a position that the ACDC endorsement caucus was inherently inequitable, that it suppressed votes. It denied minority groups the opportunity to participate in choosing a school board candidate, because we understand from our data that generally there are about 3,000 people in a very specific zip code who select a candidate. That candidate goes forward and is placed on the sample ballot, and the rest of the county votes for whomever is on the sample ballot. So more than likely it's going to be Bethany who's going to be our next school board member. And I would love to be wrong about that, but past is prologue. That's it for me.
Thanks, Madam Second VP. And we're going to close out here in a minute. Is the first VP still on?
Mr. President, thanks. I just have two quick notes since you went over 8:30. The first one.
You know what? Is your camera on, sir? Is your camera on? Where are you at?
No, there must be a glitch with it. But this past Friday, we had the privilege and honor of joining the John M. Langston Citizens Association. Did you already talk about that?
Yes, sir, I did.
Oh, you did. So I just wanted to thank everyone, the VPs, Education Committee, and yourself for your passionate speech there. But also Mrs. Britton and the Britton Foundation, who is members of the branch and longtime supporters of the Scholarship Committee. She was the keynote speaker. So just want to give a huge shout out to her and her inspiration. And then second, thank everyone obviously for attending tonight, and the presenter who came. I just want to say, the self-care for ourselves is super important, right? I just want to make sure that we don't forget our kids and our children. I've had friends over the last 2 weeks who have middle school and high school children who have been really stressed out and with everything that's going on. So I think it's super important that we have these important discussions with our children. I know they are difficult, but it's, very important that we don't forget about that, and we have those conversations and help guide and educate and, be there for them. So I would just encourage everyone, if they haven't done that, hug your children, have those conversations with them, and thanks everyone again for coming out.
Thank you. Mr. VP, you couldn't say any better. Those of you who are still on the call, trust and believe that the leaders here in this branch, everybody that I've come in contact with in this branch and this team of leaders, leads with empathy, leads with care, but we too, have our days when it becomes stressful and almost unbearing. So can't make it perfectly clear that let's not forget about our young children. There's a lot going on in the world, and we just got to stay focused there. As I close out, good night, Simone. Thank you. We have not, you talked about mental health, and there's another conversation to have, which we'll probably have next month with our Criminal Justice Committee, as it relates to mental health in our community, and in direct correlation with what we're seeing, what we've seen happen with our incarceration. People in the streets who had mental issues, yeah, they're end up in the jailhouse. Now I know there's in this last round of budgets, there's some things that have some areas where they've seen some increases, but there's still a lot of work to do. And so we need to have a robust conversation on the next steps for this branch as it relates to community mental health. I know there's shortages in healthcare professionals and the list goes on, but we have not taken our eye off the ball. So that'll be coming up next month along with our a few other things. So with that being said, it is now 8:36. This was scheduled for 9 o'clock from 7 to 9. We're going to end early. I'll stick around a few minutes. If there's no questions for me, I want to thank everyone for attending your May 16th meeting. Also, if you don't have the link, but just go to our website, you can still do this. The program we put on for the structural racism, the 4-part series, that's we're working together with 2 other organizations. We mentioned that. We're accepting donations. All right. So that means, nothing's free, right? But there's cost incurred with that. And we will gladly accept donations for that event that's going right now to help us offset the cost for the instruction, which you've heard before is almost like a college level course, right? Last week was simply outstanding, and I actually learned a few things. So if you feel free, you want to donate, you go to our PayPal on our website. It drops down. It's set up right now for structural racism. Send a donation. It'll go directly towards that event. That being said, that concludes the night. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.